Well, Meghan reached finally her 12th and final last episode of Housewives, and we are quite thankful for that, but I have the idea that Spotify might be renewing this project for a second season, but until then I want to talk about this last episode. And in this last episode, I think the most relevant part was that it was not about the women but about men. And in this case was Trevor Noah, a famous late night show host that, is also a comedian, and he was talking with Meghan about masculinity and this redefining of masculinity. And since he's fairly left-leaning, then you can imagine what kind of masculinity he is pushing with this interview. Now, it's worth noticing that it was Harry's original idea to, for a change, for your 12th episode, include men in your podcast. Wow, how nice. Now, everybody's question is, where is Harry in that episode? Why didn't he participate? I mean, Meghan invited Andy Cohen, who is gay, Trevor Noah, who is black, and Judd Apatow, who produced the first gay rom-com Bros. Maybe Harry, being white, heterosexual, and not an ally of the woke mob, disqualified him from participating? And it was his idea to include men. Now, I don't want to be as harsh on Howie in this sense because, it was his idea and it was a good idea, but sadly, we don't have his participation here. And it's hard to form an opinion without listening to the podcast itself or at least reading the transcript. And I did my best, but 40 minutes into Meghan's 12th episode, and the only relevant take is that somehow Real Housewives, the show Real Housewives, is a feminist show. What? What do I know, right? Who am I to criticize? I'm a straight man. How could I have a say on this? But I would like to know what you think about this. By the way, that was the section that she was talking to Andy Cohen, the producer of this show, and it was quite embarrassing when he just did not acknowledge that he had met Meghan twice. It was like, who the F is this Meghan? You know, right? The idea of inviting this man in this final episode was to, have like another perspective, in this case, another gender perspective from men about this, all these stereotypes that women have to go through. And I jumped to Trevor Noah's section just because Andy Cohen, you already know, Housewives, Real Housewives is a feminist show. Whatever. And the Judd Apatow section was just like 5 or 6 minutes from an extra long episode. This time it was like 80 minutes in total. And he just reached the conclusion then, when you are going to write about women, you should, consult or talk to women so you can flesh out better women characters. Wow, that is the conclusion that he got there. Now, you know that on Twitter, I'm rather, edgy. I'm a bit more, non-family friendly like here on YouTube. But, I have to say this. Trevor Noah must be either a cook or a hypocrite. Take your pick. Why? Because Meghan asked him on that episode, what kind of husband do you want to be, Trevor? And he said, the kind of husband that my wife would want me to be. Well, okay, no personality, no nothing from him. Oh, whatever my wife wants me to be. That sounds like what Harry is to Meghan, because what Meghan wants, Meghan gets, and she got one of the greatest cooks in the world. But not only that, but he also attacks the concept of marriage. And I'm going to read this nonsense and I'm going to try to make some sense of this. At the same time, try to define what kind of model are they, I don't know, do they have on their heads? I think even there, we have so many limiting ideas on what a marriage is, okay? That's where I've loved seeing, as Gen Z, as they're called, just play with the ideas of what a relationship is. Do not get your relationship ideas from TikTok, public service announcement. How a relationship is defined. We're so interesting and diverse as people, and yet we've created this monolith of what a marriage or a world or a life is. And I look at how we've slowly allowed these ideas to be eroded, but we don't like to admit it. Yeah, I guess that Trevor, as a left-winger, he abhors the concept of family, and of course abhors that a man and a woman could have a conventional or traditional marriage or traditional gender roles. No, that would be too much for him. Now, I noticed that many of my baddies on Twitter said, hey, what kind of question is that? What kind of husband do you want to be, Trevor? Because previously, she had asked him, do you want to get married sometime? It's like, what are you doing? Are you, you testing the waters, Meghan? And remember that Trevor Noah has a net worth of 100 million, so he fits the financial requirements. He also said things like this. Many boys were raised by women and then turned into men who unfortunately saw women as being innately beneath them, when in fact they were the ones who had shaped everything they become. Okay, I don't have hard numbers, but I think this is fundamentally misleading. Why? Because he's saying many boys, or the majority of boys. Let's say many boys. I don't want to change his words. Raised by women and then turn into men who say that women are innately beneath them. Let's be honest. How many boys that are correctly or successfully raised by single mothers grow up to think that women are below them or beneath them? If you see that your mother has struggled and has done everything to give you everything that you need, do you think or you feel that that person, that man, is gonna feel that women are beneath him? That doesn't make much sense, right? Let's just think that Trevor doesn't know what he's talking about right here. Maybe he got lost in his own word salad. That could be a possibility. And this is the moment that I begin to have a real problem with Trevor's statement. And I think that's what Meghan wanted. I think that's why she brought him into her show to say this. Well, I think first and foremost, as men, we have to grow comfortable in our vulnerability. I have my reservations with that sentence and that word for reasons that I'm about to explain. If we exist in a space where we are perpetually portraying this stoic idea of what a man is, I think it's limiting. And then he goes on saying, we then hold only onto aggression and anger and strength and violence. Okay, hold on. Let's do the opera stop. Hold up. You're saying that we are either vulnerable or we are aggressive or angry and use strength and violence. Okay, it's only those extremes that you're talking about? Couldn't there be, that stoic balance between the two things? But he says that. Luckily, he says that. And we forget the balance that is needed. I think many men have become a little more comfortable understanding that they can be soft, they can be intimate. Well, just a heads up, I don't think there's a correlation between being soft and intimate. There are different categories, different dimensions. But well, he was improvising. But you can guess that someone has been a comedian. And as a comedian, you need to think about your ideas. So you have to be absolutely sure how they land, how do they affect people, because, well, the punchline never lies. If you go with a punchline and it doesn't affect people in a funny way, you're not a good comedian. Trevor has been a great comedian in his career. That's where he's worth 100 million. So I don't understand why he's all over the place. Maybe this is not his area of expertise, and he's just pandering to the woke mob. They can be kind, they can be crying. The crying men all over. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to say something about this. They can be all of these things and still be a great man. I'm not saying that men cannot cry, but the circumstances that makes us cry, like he talks here about the Super Bowl or the Champions League final, to add some levity to it, I think it's a bit misleading. And Meghan says it's not going to help your emotional quotient in the long run if that's what you're bottling up for those moments. And I want to quote the great Adam Lane Smith, who is also here on YouTube. Follow on YouTube, on Twitter. If you don't understand men, follow him. If you don't understand women, follow him too. That is my advice. Adam Lane Smith. Male depression is nearly always a result of learned helplessness. But health providers treat it like female depression and try to make men feel loved and sometimes even emotional. You can be vulnerable, you can cry instead of powerful. And I agree 100% with this. And I know that in such a brief tweet and such a brief concept, such an important concept might sound like it's oversimplified. But this is pretty much it. Now, I'm sure that you will argue that there are many facets to male depression, but before you jump into the comments, and I'm sure that you already went to the comments to vent your anger, that it's not like that, men have emotions too, men can cry. Okay, wait a second, let me go with the slide and then we can talk about that. Trevor also says, yes, oftentimes, but I think that we have to give up is the shackles. We've shackled ourselves to these ideas that don't help us. This is also a word salad. It's like, yeah, guys, let's free ourselves from these ideas. Wouldn't it be nice to be led? Wouldn't it be nice to be led? As men, I say, who is gonna lead us? We lead. We were born to lead. Men were born to lead. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to be led? Good luck. You will be a sheep, nothing more. Would it be nice to let go of these ideas that you have that hold you back and how you pursue the world and what you can do and what you can meet and how you can relate to them? You don't want to take a break? Don't you just want to, wouldn't you? This is just a word salad, sorry. You just want to be like more you know? What is this? None of the stress of this idea of what you're supposed to be as a man, but just be you. And this is the biggest problem that I have. Just be you. That is the worst advice that you can give any man. I think Trevor was just playing games here. I refuse to think that even a left winger could say something like, just be you. Just be you. Nonsense. Because if you tell a man, just be you. If you tell, like me, just be you, I say, okay, what am I? We only find ourselves. Men only can find ourselves through the empires we build, through the purposes we search for, we fight for, we build, we do. It's in doing, it's in building. I've been asked many times, what is masculinity? What is it like to be a man? And my answer is always gonna be, we explore, we conquer, we build. If we are not exploring, if we are not conquering, if we are not building, we will be depressed. We cannot just be you. Just smoke weed, play video games, watch Netflix. You don't have to play by the rules that the world, that the society imposes on you. Just be you. Just have fun. Yeah, that leads to male depression. And I'm sure you are already blasting on the comments. You're wrong, body language guy. Unfollow, unsubscribe. I understand that because this is a difficult topic. Just because there has been this rain of opinions and all this misinformation about what is the truly meaning of being a man in this society. And the same way Adam Lane Smith says that we need to feel powerful to overcome that depression is the same reason I have the problem with, well, men must acknowledge their vulnerability. They can cry. They can be emotional. That simply doesn't work. You need to assess, where does that emotion come from? And you might be saying, Jesus, the problem is all these men that do all sort of cruel things, even go on these rampages, killing people, just because they have all these emotions accumulated and they're letting them go all at once. So if they recognize those emotions, that will be much better. That is true in one sense. But it's also a fact that the men that are the most helpless and the most powerless and the most hopeless can be the more cruel, because they have virtually nothing to lose and they need something. They need to make an impact in the world, and that impact should be building or creating something or pursuing a goal. If they don't have that for any reason, they will look to make that impact in ways that can be, well, terrible. There's much more that has to be said about this topic, but I'm sure that we will find other opportunities to dive deeper into this. My body language buddies, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. And remember to download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. Much love and bliss.